How's it going, guys? Welcome back to my Washington Commanders rebuild, where we are essentially just the general manager of this team, but we are in part two of season number 4, and as you can see at the bottom right of the screen, we are currently 7-1 so far this year. We are really doing a lot of great stuff, and we really need to continue on. But taking a look, we're facing off against the team that ultimately booted us out of the playoffs last year and ultimately was the Super Bowl champions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are currently 2-5. So they must have just caught magic the previous season and just absolutely went off. And so for us, this is going to be a little bit of a revenge game, and just for us trying to continue to have this really good run of form. And right now, big game, but continuing on typically with the way that we do things here. If this is your first time stopping by, we completely sim every single game never being played. We are truly just a general manager, hiring the coaches, signing the players, doing all the drafting, and we watch the simulation as it goes. But if this is your first time, please go back to all of the original videos. I know some of them are a little bit longer. That's why I'm doing each season in 2 parts. Maybe in the future I might be doing them in 3 parts. I'm not entirely sure yet, but just thank you all for stopping by, and thank you for all of the support here over these last couple videos. I really appreciate it. But let's get into this first game. So we were able to get a little bit of that revenge game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, beating them 35-10. It was just a really down year for them. Taking a look at the stats, and Zach Wilson was the guy that ultimately ended our playoff run last year, has the touchdown, interception, and was sacked 5 times, only the 46% completion, just having himself a terrible day. Lance Klein continues his pretty just good season. Just the 2 TDs, was not sacked a single time. Taking a look here at the rushing game, Brian Robinson, 73 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. He's just continued to be an absolute monster for us on the ground. Taking a look at the receiving game, Terry McLaurin, 128, no TDs. Luke Hunt, Okonkwo, both getting into the end zone, but Luke Hunt having the better of the day in terms of yards with 85. No sacks were given up on us for this particular game. Curl led the team in tackles, but then Jermaine Davis, Isaiah Simmons, and Jerry Whittington, one of the guys that we made in that trade, ultimately getting some sacks with Jordan Brooks. So none of our edge rushers actually getting sacks in this game. It's coming all from our linebackers, which is interesting to say the least. Malik Hooker, one of the free safeties that we brought in this particular season, trying to hope to just get some more of that energy into our back end for our defense. He's finally getting his first sack of the year. Only the 2 tackles on the game, so it doesn't really look like he's been much of a factor, but getting the interception is good for me. Another week, another victory, this time beating the Green Bay Packers, which is just a little bit extra sweeter for me in this game, because in real life I am a Chicago Bears fan, and whenever we can beat the Green Bay Packers, it is always a good day. And Jordan Love throwing an interception, but did get a touchdown. He does have the 3 sacks in today's game, but Lance Klein, 263, 3 passing touchdowns, was sacked twice in this game, but 78% completion. Dude is just such an animal in that completion department. Love to see it. Brian Robinson with the 59 rushing yards, the 1 TD. That is it for that. Then Luke Hunt, 71 receiving yards, the 2 TDs, and Jahan Dotson also getting in there. Okonkwo also getting the 66 yards, and Terry McLaurin kind of taking a little bit of a day off, so, not too worried. But taking a look here at the sacks, Mike Nzerma and Stanley getting the sacks, or allowing the sacks on that one, so our edge rushers doing that. But Emmanuel Forbes leads the team in tackles. Taking a look at the sacks, Isaiah Simmons, just kind of again around this point in the year, he just seemingly taken off with those 2 sacks. He does have the interceptions. Tyree Wilson and Curl also with the half sacks there. But taking a look on our defensive side, did not get a defensive touchdown. But again, Isaiah Simmons, he's trying to lead our team in sacks again, I guess, because he's playing really well. And our linebackers, I have no idea why they do this, but they just seemingly get a ton of sacks, especially Isaiah Simmons. we were able to beat the Falcons in our latest matchup after falling to our rivals, the New York Giants, the previous week, but we were able to bounce back really well and beat the Falcons 35-17 in this particular game. Taking a look at it, Lance Klein, the 216 with the 4 touchdowns, the 1 sack on the game, but Mitch Davidson, one of the rookie quarterbacks this year, 310 passing yards. The 1 TD was sacked the 3 times, so no interceptions out here on the day. But Lance Klein not throwing as many passing yards, but still getting very efficient in putting that one in. Brian Robinson, 107 for the 1 rushing touchdown as well. Taking a look at the receiving, Terry McLaurin was in the end zone, Okonkwo was in the end zone, and of course Luke Hunt getting 2 on the day off of only 32 attempts. Mike Nzerma with the sack given up there. Isaiah Simmons, who else would it have been to lead the team in tackles, also getting a sack on the day. Justin Meadows and Leslie Moody also getting a pair of sacks here today. After losing to the Panthers the week prior, we were able to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in what was a very important game for the division. We were able to dominate them 49-28 in an absolute phenomenal game for us. Taking a look here at the box score, Lance Klein, the 378, 6 touchdowns. He did have the 1 interception, but the 6 touchdowns completely covers that up. Jalen Hurts, the 270, the 1 touchdown, but he was sacked 3 times. Oh my God, this team came to play today. Brian Robinson, 79 yards, but Stanley was able to get into the end zone, rushing the ball. Luke Hunt, oh my goodness, 131 receiving yards off of 9 catches for 4 touchdowns. Terry McLaurin, 107 for 1 touchdown. Okonkwo with the 78 receiving yards and the 1 touchdown. Just an absolute beauty of a game. No sacks were allowed in this one. Isaiah Simmons led the team in tackles. Did not get a sack here in today's game. Tyree Wilson gets the 2.5, and Leslie Moody also getting in there for a sack. No interceptions. What a game. So before I forget to do this, like I might often do, I think I've been pretty good throughout most of the series ever since year number 1, but taking a look at the playoff picture, I'm not going to show this every week unless, you know, we start to get closer and it starts to really become close, but we are currently in first place. The Chiefs are also in first place, so hopefully we can keep this and at least try to get this bye this year so we don't have to go through the wild card. We only have to win 2 games to get to the Super Bowl as opposed to trying to do the 3. It's going to be really interesting to say the least. We were able to go out and beat the New Orleans Saints, who actually took a little bit of a lead over us. Actually, we were tied going into halftime, 14-14, but we were the only team able to score in the 3rd quarter, and that's where it left. Take a look at the game. Baker Mayfield was the lone player to actually throw a passing touchdown, so it looks like our running game was the key factor there. Lance Klein, the only man getting sacked, but definitely having more of the yards. Taking a look here at our running game, Brian Robinson with the 44 rushing yards, and then Will Blackman ultimately looks like he got a handful more carries, but it's good to see because he was able to get into the end zone twice in this one for all of our rushing. Jahan Dotson, the 12 receptions for 200 yards. Oh my goodness. Looking at this, Wyatt Teller gave up the lone sack. No sacks for us on the day. No interceptions on the day for us. And Tyree Wilson, our edge rusher, leading the team in tackles. So taking a look here at the official standings for the NFC, we have 100% clinched the playoffs. But for us, we need to make sure that we win at least one more game, if not both of our games, so that way we can have sole control of first place in the NFC over the Minnesota Vikings, who are hot on our heels, just currently that 1 game behind. And like I said, we really, really want to make sure that we have that. Taking a look here at the AFC, a bunch of teams have already clinched their spots, but taking a look at some others, getting very, very close there. Just in the NFL, we are the number 1 team in the NFL this year. a big-time win for us over the New York Jets, who are trying to, again, slow us down. We ended up winning 27-14. They started to mount a little bit of a comeback in the third and fourth, but luckily our lead was just a little too above, and Will Lincoln, their quarterback, 273. He was sacked 4 times, no passing touchdowns, and no interception. Lance Klein, just the 1 passing touchdown to the no interceptions, but unfortunately he was sacked 3 times. Brian Robinson, 45 rushing yards to the 2 rushing touchdowns, so he was a big factor there. And Jahan Dotson, after that 200-yard game, gets 48 this time, but the 1 touchdown. Terry McLaurin and Luke Hunt leading the way on this particular one. Taking a look at sacks, Cosme, Teller, and then Stanley, all allowing a sack. So our 3 big money guys all allowing sacks. Isaiah Simmons leads the team in tackles. Taking a look at the sacks, Justin Meadows, Leslie Moody, we haven't seen have a sack in a little bit. Alex Phelps, one of our now backup linebackers, and Isaiah Simmons and Joe Ely all getting the half sack there. No interceptions on the game. So to finish off the season, we were able to get the double win over the Cowboys for the first time in this series, and we were able to beat them 34-14. Our team has just played so good this year. Dak Prescott, the 304 passing yards, the 1 interception, or the 1 touchdown, and the 1 sack. But Lance Klein, 268 throughout the air, the 2 touchdowns, and the 1 interception. He was sacked twice. Completion percentage was the exact same in this one. So Lance Klein, a little bit more of the interceptions than what I would personally like in it, but not to worry too much. Brian Robinson with the 1 touchdown, and Will Blackman also with the 1 touchdown. And also taking a look here, it looks like Christian Blackburn getting the touchdown. So the Blackman boys both getting into the end zone. So this is Blackman and this is Blackburn. I need to remember that. Brain fart. But Luke Hunt with the 48 yards, and then Christian Blackburn with the 2 touchdown day, 1 with through the air and 1 on the ground. Terry McLaurin leading the team. Take a look at the sacks. Mike and Zerma on that right tackle side, also allowing those 2 sacks. So again, that right tackle spot just seemingly a pretty difficult one. Emerson leads the team in tackles by a wide margin. Isaiah Simmons, the lone sack getter in the game. No interceptions. Let's take a look here at the final standings for the playoffs. As you can see right there, we were able to get it done, and we clinched first place, getting the bye. So for us, it is going to be absolutely key to make sure that we have good, strong games continuing throughout the rest of this playoff so that we can potentially get to our first ever Super Bowl. But before we get to any of the playoff action, let's take a look here at our season stats. Lance Klein was 3rd in the NFL in passing yards, just an absolute freak right there. 34 passing touchdowns, which I think is the most he's had in a season. 6 interceptions, so he's only getting better and better and better. The 75% completion is massive. That is absolutely huge. This dude just does not miss when he's throwing the ball. He was sacked 26 times this year, so ultimately I can't really be too upset with that, but great year from Lance Klein. He's only getting better and better and better. We love to see it. Taking a look at Brian Robinson, the just shy under 1,200 yards, does have the 18 touchdowns on the ground, so he's an absolute monster. Will Blackman has the 7 rushing touchdowns as kind of the number 2 default back in Blackburn with the 1 rushing touchdown, Stanley, but we also had Klein getting in there for a handful of rushing touchdowns. Taking a look at our receiving game, Luke Hunt led the team by less than 50 yards with 1,156 as opposed to Terry McLaurin's 1,109, but Luke Hunt with the 15 receiving touchdowns to McLaurin's 6, Oquanto with the 5, and Jahan Dotson with the 4, and Nate Silverman, who had the 2 touchdowns earlier in the year, Didn't have another touchdown pretty much since. Taking a look here at the blocking, the sacks given up. Mike Inzerma with the 7, so can't be too upset with that. But Ronnie Stanley with the 6, not really happy with that. Cosme and Wyatt Teller both giving up 4, while Connor Williams also giving up 4. So our line was pretty consistent, I would say. Our tackles kind of getting worked on a little bit there, but Isaiah Simmons 102 tackles while getting 10 sacks on the year. But Leslie Moody having the best year of his career with 13 and a half. Tyree Wilson, 9 sacks. So he's definitely starting to improve from that last year, and he's definitely becoming that edge rusher number 2, maybe kind of getting to that edge rusher number 3 spot. Obviously with Isaiah Simmons kind of doing his thing right there, but Jermaine Davis from the linebacker spot with 6. Deron Payne with only 4. We did have him on the franchise tag, but that is just so frustrating to see. Curl almost had as many, but Justin Meadows. So our interior D-line not really getting much done there. I did leave Justin Meadows as kind of the guy that was going to be down the middle this season. Taking a look at the interceptions, Reggie Griffin got the 2, Isaiah Simmons with 1, Emerson and Malik Hooker both with 1. We got a couple of forced fumbles, 2 from Jordan Brooks, 1 from Isaiah Simmons, 1 from Emerson, Davis, and Payne. Taking a look at our defense, did we get any defensive touchdowns? No, we didn't. But looking at Cameron Dicker, 8 for 10 for 80%, and he was 63 for 6, or he was 62 for 63. You know what? After the down year last year, I can't really be too upset with what I've seen from him here. And you know what? I think, us bringing in that extra kicker kind of ultimately spooked him a little bit and said, I guess I got to have my act together and continue. But let's take a look at the playoffs. Taking a look here at the official playoff bracket, at least for the NFC, the San Francisco 49ers, who are in that 7th seed, were ultimately able to take out seed number 2, the Minnesota Vikings 21-14. The Lions beat the Cardinals 20-17, and the Panthers were able to beat the Eagles 30-24. So for us, the other game in the divisional round, it is the Panthers versus Lions, us versus the 49ers, and this is what it looks like on the AFC side of things. I'm not going to go through each of those games, but we have a tough game against the 49ers. So we were able to beat the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round, going over to the conference championship, and we were able to beat them as we look here 24-10. But let's take a look here at the player stats for both sides. Lance Klein having a little bit of the better day, 368 passing yards, 82% completion against a really good 49ers defense. The 2 TDs, the no interceptions. But taking a look, Brian Robinson having kind of an okay day, nothing too crazy, but Christian Blackburn getting into the end zone. Taking a look at the receiver, Luke Hunt, the 201 receiving yards, the 1 receiving touchdown, and Terry McLaurin also getting that one as well. Just an absolute monster game. Oh my goodness. Taking a look at the sacks, did we allow a sack? Will Blackman actually allowed a sack here in today's game. Taking a look at the defensive side of things, total tackles, Curl led the team. Taking a look at the sacks, we were able to get after Brock Purdy a handful of times. In fact, we were able to get after him 4 times with Tyree Wilson, Deron Payne, and Leslie Moody being the guys that ultimately got those sacks. No interceptions. So we move on to the conference championship. Normally, I don't show players of the game, but we actually got something a little bit more rare in the playoffs, and just genuinely, we got the offensive and defensive player, Tyree Wilson, again with his day, and then Lance Klein ultimately with his day. But let's take a look at the remaining playoff bracket. So the Lions were able to beat the Carolina Panthers 23-15. Taking a look at this, the Chiefs ultimately lost to the Jets 42-28, and the Ravens were able to beat the Bills 24-21. So this is going to be an absolute massive game for us nonetheless. Hopefully we can finally get past this hump and make it to the Super Bowl in year number 4. How special would that be? We just got to get past the Dan Campbell Detroit Lions. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to the Super Bowl. I cannot believe it. We were able to beat the Detroit Lions. I was getting massively worried in this game. I saw how close it was in the first and second. Honestly, I'm still in shock just through watching this. Lance Klein had 257 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 1 interception, and then taking a look at this Callum Wilkerson guy, the rookie for them, 162 passing yards, the 1 passing TD. Oh, we were able to get it done. No rushing touchdowns on the day. Brian Robinson with the 65, and then Luke Hunt getting into the end zone. Again, just been such a monster for us here. Taking a look at the blocking, Mike Inzerma allowed a sack. Taking a look at our defensive side, Curl with the team lead in tackles. Deron Payne and Leslie Moody both getting the sacks there. No interceptions, but did we get a defensive touchdown in this game? We did not, so I'm not really sure where those 24 points came from, but I am not going to be too terribly upset because, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl, baby. So, taking a look at who we will be facing off against in the Super Bowl, it will be the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to be an absolute massive, massive game. They ultimately beat the Jets 38-17. I am so nervous for this game, but I honestly cannot wait. This is going to be so much fun to watch. But before we get there, we need to take a look at some of the other stuff, the Pro Bowl, and then we will discuss what is going to be the situation for when we are in the Super Bowl for some of these videos. So, taking a look here at the official Pro Bowl roster, these are the quarterbacks. It looks like Brock Purdy is actually a 99 overall in the game, basically saying he's just as good as Patrick Mahomes. So, there's that. Then again, a lot of our players would be there, but since we're making our way to the Super Bowl, it doesn't really matter. Taking a look at some of the guys here, looks like a rookie running back making his way in there. Some really talented players still on the list. I'm not really going to say every player. I'm just going to continue to kind of scroll through and allow you guys to see potentially any of your favorite players. Mind you, this is in year 4 of a simulation, so we are definitely much farther in, and not every single player is realistically going to be on the same team that they were originally on. Then again, I assume most people would have figured that by now, but yeah, continuing on, just looking at some of these guys, just honestly, I'm really happy that we don't have any of our players in the Pro Bowl, because we have the even more important game coming up. So, before we get to the Super Bowl, one of the things that I should probably mention, when we do go to a Super Bowl, I'm going to obviously sim the game like I normally do. The only difference that I will ultimately have in this particular game is the fact that we will be doing the slow sim, so we'll be able to get to see every single play that goes along. So that is going to be its own standalone video, and I think what I'll do, depending on how long that game actually is, I obviously want you guys to see from start to finish from that game, so there isn't really going to be any cutting. So I'll basically be doing play-by-play for that particular game. Yeah, so this is where we are ultimately going to end the episode we're ending it on an extremely high note. Season 4, I guess, gets a third part, so you're going to have to wait till tomorrow to get that episode to see how we do in the Super Bowl. But till then, I'm saying thank you all very much for hanging out with me. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. And just let me know, do you think we can win the Super Bowl? Because this is kind of our do or die year, I'm ultimately saying. But it's going to be so much fun. Can't wait to bring it to you. But till then, peace.